Welcome to the Sock Door Podcast, where life is messy, but we always find meaning in it. Every week, we pull out the stories, the lessons, and the hidden gems. And then we ask the big question, keep it or kick it? If you're ready for real talk, brave steps forward. Now let's meet today's guest. Woo! Welcome to the Sock Drawer Podcast. I'm so excited. Megan and I have been chatting, and I'm like, technology is not my strong suit, clearly. It's taken us like 30 minutes to 30 minutes to figure it all out. But welcome. Megan Parker Dale. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Listen, listeners, I got to tell you, this woman has done 16 years of elementary education. She is facilitating school-wide intervention, and she is friends like family for us for more than, I don't know, Meg, what is it? Like,
I think we said 10-ish, 10 to 11.
I think it's 10 years.
Yeah.
And listen, we met Megan through friends of ours, Jenny and Jason Hall, actually through our oldest son and his wife, Tyler and Krista.
Yeah, they were neighbors.
They were neighbors of Jenny and Jay, and you and Jenny were BFFs, and it was super cool to meet you finally, both teachers, which is like I think we have 4 or 5 teachers in our lives.
Yeah.
And that's rare because we know the teaching industry has really kind of taken it's a hard gig, and it's taken a hit. I feel over it's going to be interesting to dig into your 10 years of history, but tell me, so I'm interested to know, like, and Megan could probably share this, like when you meet our family, it's a lot. We're a lot. And
so I will never forget that day. Jenny was like, do you want to come over to my neighbor's house? And I was like, okay. I was single at the time. And I came over, and everyone was like in the kitchen, which was like to the left. And in the middle of the living room, there was like just this toddler, like screaming his lungs out, bright red hair. And I was like, all right, at the time, my sister and brother both had like very, very young children. So it's not like I'd never seen a screaming toddler before. But like, he was just like screaming his heart out. And I walked into the kitchen, and I was like, they were like, he does that. And I was like, okay. So that was the first time I ever came. And now he's 13?
13, going to be 14 in February.
Yeah, and he's gosh, the calmest, coolest cucumber ever. Like, he did all of his like screaming as a toddler, and now he's like so chill. So that was like my very first,
welcome
meeting.
To the Begleys.
Yeah, and then we just kind of, showed up to the lake, and I think you lived in New York then.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Because I met them all like long before I met you, and then like, you guys got like married again, and you lived here, and like it was like a whole thing. So it's
a whole thing. Yeah. When you first met us, Trent and I were divorced, but I mean, obviously super, because I know sometimes we'd all be there for holidays and things, and
at the little house.
At the little house.
I
That's
love
right.
That little house.
Even before we got back together, like, we would come, and sometimes Trent would just be there, or I would just be there, and it was just great. And we'd both kind of get to know, we call it extended family, right?
Yes.
You're like family. Yes. I mean, we have, you and Matt are on our wall. Like it's, it's not, that's the beauty of friendships like this. And I'm so forever grateful, grateful. And I'm so grateful for you to be willing to like come on here and chat with me about this in our SDP. I call it the SDP, Sock Drawer Podcast. So let's open it up with, like I said, 16 years teaching, like, oh my gosh, in all of that time. And we know that educational portal has changed. So the landscape of that has changed so significantly over. And I obviously I'm not in the industry, but I know you are, and we have several friends that are. And so tell me a little bit about, like, just take me back. What's one moment maybe that even recently that made you stop and think, wow, this is this is something that matters or this actually matters. And it doesn't have to be about teaching. It could be about anything. Like, talk to me about that because we'll get into teaching pretty quick.
So now I would say for the last this is year number 5 of being, like, in intervention, so, like, I just teach reading. And I had a student, I had her last year and I have her again this year. She's actually in Jenny's class, which is kind of cool because that's like another way that her and I get to talk at work. But she struggles a lot. And I worked with her last year and we've grown over time. But like this week, she was like actually like reading, like putting the skills together to
Mm,
read. And like I got to like take her to her teacher last year and like
mm,
talk about it with like our administrators. Like she's a reader now, like, and that like I don't take like personal entire credit for that. Like she's worked really hard with other teachers, but like
yeah.
I was part of the people that taught her how to read and that will like change her life forever, like and that was
Forever.
like very impactful to me. Particularly, like, talking to Jenny about it and, like, talking to the teacher she had last year, and, like, I took her to her classroom, and she was, like, literally, like, holding the kid's hand, like, jumping up and down. She was like, "You're
Mm,
reading," and I was like, "We taught you that, like, we did that."
so cool.
Um, and I
And
think
I
and that's,
feel
like,
like
impactful forever for her, like
that's so impactful. That's going to
Mhm,
change the trajectory
mhm,
of her whole life, like the path that she may take and the choices that she makes in the future. And share with me if you think this is an accurate statement, but I feel like, teachers kind of I don't know that they get a bad rap, but the industry and the position and the job of doing that kind of, I feel like it's a bad rap. And we miss the pieces of it that are very small,
mhm,
small piece of that, but the pieces that encourage teachers to do their job
for
and
sure.
reward them for what they're doing, right?
Well, yeah, I
So,
mean, it's a broken, like, system, and we could have, like, a
yeah,
whole, like, series about that, like, in a
yeah,
lot of different
let's do
ways,
it.
but, like,
Yeah,
at the heart of it, like, there's still good to be found. But, like, I think as people, like just as, like, the culture of the world changes to, like, everybody has an opinion about everything and, like, there's no way anyone else's opinion could be right, like, but a lot of people that, like, form those opinions about teaching, like,
yeah,
have never been a teacher or haven't been in elementary school since they were a student,
yeah,
or have, like, this perception because of the media or whatever, like, this is what it looks like when, like, that's not what it looks like.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. So
so I think it's
take
just a
me
lot of, like,
back.
under
Yeah,
I don't know, like, people don't like, you don't understand what it's really like, until
it's
you live it
undervalued.
every day in and out, it's not always how it's portrayed. And I've worked in the same school my entire teaching career, so, like, I know my school very well, but, like, I work in a very big, very diverse county, so, like, it's not always what it seems or what the
Yeah, so
news will tell you it is.
exactly. And when you say that, like, tell me a little bit more about that. How do you mean that when you say that?
So I think a lot of times people like I feel like especially recently, like education has become political and like
Yeah.
people will have an opinion about like they're teaching kids XYZ. I mean, maybe some people are, but like I feel like my husband and I talk about this a lot. Like you can't have a broad scale opinion about a group of people without like that doesn't apply to all people.
Yeah.
Like women feel this way, not all women feel that way.
Yeah.
Like teachers feel this way, not all teachers feel that way. Like
Yeah.
uh even political parties, like it doesn't like that's not how the real world works, but people
Yeah.
like to like polarize things. Does that make sense? So
It
I
totally
think
makes
like
sense.
it's become a political issue because of like funding and like, you know, teaching different types of kids and like
Yeah.
there's a whole lot that's just but like at the root of it like I teach kids to read and I do a lot of other stuff but like that's my favorite part, and that's why I
Oh,
haven't left or done something else or.
yeah. And I mean, why would you when you get rewards like what you just said, right? So take me back a little bit. Like when was it? If you can remember back, when was it that you decided I'm going to be a teacher?
So
Did
my
you
dad
always
is a
know
teacher.
that? Okay.
My dad was a teacher for his most of his career. He worked a
Okay.
different job first, but I mean like 20 plus years. Mostly high school, a little bit of middle school, but I grew up obviously with him as a teacher. I actually had him as a teacher in high school,
Yeah. Yeah.
for multiple
Oh
classes, which was
gosh.
pretty cool. And he
Yeah.
was one of my favorite
How was
teachers.
that?
Not It was awesome. Not because he was
Was
my
it?
dad, but I mean, he was a very, very good teacher. He taught, biology and anatomy, so I had him for multiple classes, but I loved it. It was weird, a little weird at first, but
Yeah.
people thought I got, like, special treatment, but I did not.
Yeah.
Um, I remember one morning, like, coming downstairs, and we had a test that day, and the test was, like, in a folder on our kitchen counter, and I was like, I remember seeing, like, the folder closed and his stuff with it, like, I didn't see tests ahead of time. I did
Yeah.
call him dad, not Mr. Parker, but that was about it. Um,
Wow.
but he
So
was a teacher.
and that's unique. So
Yeah,
is that is unique because most kids would be like, at least in
yeah,
today's world, like, oh my mom,
yeah,
I
and
don't
I
want
think
to be in your class, you know?
because it was high school, that made a difference, like,
Yeah.
I was, like, 15, so it's not like I was, like, a nine-year-old where he was my 3rd
Yeah.
grade teacher every day, all day.
Yeah.
Like, he wasn't
It's
my
just one
only teacher at
class.
the time, it was, like, 1 class, and I had him for, 2 years, like, for 3
Awesome.
different classes.
Very cool.
But so that
So
was my kind of, like, role model, but I went to college because I wanted to be a doctor, I wanted to be a pediatrician. So I,
okay.
like, majored in biology, and then I had, like, a defining moment where I was like, "I don't wanna be a doctor." So my friend was in nursing,
Tell me more about that.
yeah,
Tell
my
me
friend was
like
in,
what.
like, pre-nursing or whatever, and I think she was doing,
Yeah.
like, a CNA type thing. Anyway, so she spent the summer in, like, a pediatric ward doing, like, whatever training she was doing at the time. Anyway, she told me at the end of the summer, she was like, "We had a great summer, only 1 kid died." And I was like, "What?" She was like, "That was, like, a
Like a
victory,
positive.
like, that the whole summer, they only lost 1 kid." And I have a friend since that I've talked to recently, and she works in the
Mm.
PICU, and she was like, "That is a celebration." Like, that only and I was like, "I'm
Oh.
out." I was like,
It,
all I could think about is, like, what happened to that 1 kid, and, like,
uh,
I was
yeah.
like, "I could never do this." Like, I could
Yeah.
never go to work, lose a kid, and just, like, carry on with my life. Like, and I
Yeah.
love that there are people that can do that and can,
Yeah.
work
Can
in
compartmentalize that.
medicine,
Yeah.
and I have, like,
Yeah.
a complicated medical history myself, like, I'm very happy that there's people that do that, but I was like, "This is not for me." And I
Yeah.
literally changed my major, like, the very next semester, and I was like, "And I'm done. And I'll be a
Wow. So
teacher."
and maybe I have this wrong, but I would feel like you're very blessed in that because there are so many kids that go to school all these years and become doctors. In fact, I know there's one YouTube channel I follow, Ali Abdal, and he did that. And now he's a YouTube person. But, like to go to school all those years and dig it, you're very blessed. I feel like that you were able to make that kind of discern that and
Yeah.
pivot very quickly
Yeah, and I'm
in
sure you
in
have
the
too, like,
moment.
that was, like, a
Oh,
pivotal conversation of my life, like, I will never
yeah.
forget it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, so that was your moment to switch
Mhm.
and you knew teaching. Was there like decision making on elementary, middle school, high school, college,
I so
professor, like
yeah, I coached competitive cheerleading, like, as a young adult, as, at the, like, cheerleading gym that I went to as a high schooler, like, I continued coaching, like, while I was in college, and
okay.
I coached every age, like, elementary, middle, and high school, and elementary was always my favorite age
Yeah.
range. I also think, like, elementary school age kids, like, it's more about, like, there's less personality, like, hormones and teenagers, and that just, like, I knew
Yeah.
wasn't gonna be for me.
Yeah.
Um, so I knew elementary kind of that way, but I never really considered any other. My dad, like I said, taught high school and he ended his career in middle school, but that just wasn't for me.
Yeah, you knew that.
Yeah.
It seems like I'm sensing a pattern here where you're very, call it pragmatic, call it whatever you want to call it, but you're very fortunate to be able to go like decision making. No, this came up. Nope. Okay, now I'm going to pivot and this is what I'm going to do. And that's hard for a lot of people, as you well know,
Mhm.
for me, right?
Yeah.
But I've pivoted so many times,
Yeah.
I don't know if you would say that's a good thing or bad thing, but so you go into teaching and uniquely you have been at the same school
Mhm.
for your entire
Yeah.
16
So the
years and
year
that is
the
so out of character
my first
for
year
the teaching.
teaching My first
Ah,
year teaching was the year the school opened. And
okay.
that's actually so Jenny worked in that building the year before with the school that she used to work at, and then it became Banks anyway. So she worked there the whole time too, but she taught prior to Banks. But anyway, so that my first year was the first year the building opened, and I had a really hard time like finding a job, which is not the case anymore. But like
Yeah.
the principal at the time, his wife and my mom were coworkers, and I used to babysit his kids and, like, now they're, like, adults and stuff, and she was like, "He has an interview, like, an opening in 1st grade," and I feel strongly that I got the job on my, like, personal merit, but, like, I definitely got an interview because I knew someone, and I think in
Yeah.
any professional setting, like, knowing people is how you, like, move and get opportunities, like,
Yeah.
so I never would have got the interview if I didn't know him, but I think that, like, I made a good impression. So I taught 1st grade, and then I taught 2nd grade for a few years, and I taught
Yeah.
4th grade for a few years, and then 3rd grade before intervention. So I've had a wide experience range in elementary school.
Yeah. What's your favorite grade so far?
Um, so I really enjoyed intervention because I get to, like, teach but still support teachers, but I think if I had to go back, I would be, like, in the 3rd, 4th grade range, like, they
Okay.
know how to, like, be at school, but they still, like, think you're cool and, like, want to learn and, like, do fun things.
Yeah.
5th grade is hard for me. I have a 5th grade group now, and they're, like, really cool, and they wanna be cool, and they, like, don't wanna
Yeah.
do, so I think, like, 3rd, 4th was kind of my favorite. If I had to pick one, I'd probably pick 4th just because 'cause they're, like it's, like, the perfect age, like,
Yeah.
to, really they're really cool kids.
So tell me a little bit about, because we talked about this a little bit and we talk about this often actually, is the industry itself, right? Like it's definitely changed over the last 10 years for sure. Probably in big ways that you can really recognize and acknowledge. But so I think about this because I know the teaching industry needs more teachers,
Mhm.
and not a lot of kids coming up are making that decision to become teachers. Do you have any insight as to why that would be? And what would you offer somebody as advice of if they're on the fence of like, I'd like to be a teacher, but man, I don't want to deal with A, B, C, and D. Or I want to be a teacher, but I'm just not sure. Like, what kind of advice would you offer somebody in that way, heading in that direction? Because I'd love
Well,
to get more teachers,
yeah, I would
you know?
encourage them to spend time in a school in whatever capacity they can do, like, whether it's
Okay.
subbing or volunteering or, like,
Yeah.
elementary school is not like it was, like, when I went to elementary school,
Yeah.
um, and I
That's
think
great
it's just
advice.
like, go and see, like, put there's so much with technology and social media, like, there's a, like, teacher Facebook group that I'm in that's, like, all Wake County teachers, and people will be
Yeah.
like, like, reach out, like, "I wanna be a teacher, can I observe?" And, like, obviously, there's rules about that, but, like, come and
Yeah.
see, like, what's really happening and don't just, like, rely on, like, media output to, like, determine, like, whether you wanna be a teacher or not. Like,
Yeah.
they're not gonna make a ton of money, but, like, I went back to school I don't remember, 3rd year, I think, and I got my master's online, so, like, I got more money for that, and there's other opportunities, there's, like, a national board thing you can do, I've never done that, but there's other
Mhm.
opportunities to, like, make more money, but it's not a you're not gonna be, like, rolling in the money
Yeah.
being a teacher, but I think it matters, like, I know it matters, like, I
Well, and the
and
rewards have gotta outweigh
yes, and
the
you have to
lesser
know,
money.
like, you're not doing it for the money, like, that's not ever why, but I
Yeah.
think it's hard, like, there's a lot of kids have a lot of challenges that I think I know they've had forever, but they just, like, manifest differently now, like,
Yeah.
there's a lot of trauma in elementary school that people, like, don't wanna talk about, like, kids that, we had a kid this week at our school, like, lost her whole home to a fire, like,
Mm.
last week, like,
Mhm.
her whole house gone, all her stuff
Yeah.
gone, like,
Mm.
people don't wanna talk about that,
Aw.
like, they don't wanna
Yeah.
talk about, like, parents with multiple kids and not a lot of resources or, like, they've been through XYZ, trauma. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say this or not.
Yeah.
But, like,
Well,
that affects the kid that comes to school, like,
yeah.
not
I think
everybody comes to school the way I did with 2 parents. I never wondered what I was gonna eat for dinner, like, I always had clothes and shoes, like, We
Yes.
weren't, like, wealthy, but, like, I never
Had to worry
had to
about
I
those
never
things.
worried about basic needs as a child, and
Yeah.
I think a lot of children do, and that's something that, like,
Yeah.
that affects how you come to school and how
How you show up.
for sure.
Yeah. Yes, that's such a great point, Meg, because I feel like we're lacking in today's world of people who have the empathy and the desire to help people
Mhm,
like that. Now,
mhm.
there are millions of people who
Yeah,
help in with resources, volunteering their time, financially. There are so many, but it's just not enough for, I feel like the scale is outweighed, that we have more more need than we have
for
resources,
sure.
and that's the hard part. So, realizing that, I love that you say that. One, I love the first advice, and that is put yourself in the environment. And I feel like that's great advice for any industry you
Mhm,
want to go in. If you
mhm.
can get yourself into the environment for a while, that'll help you make that decision. So if you're on the fence, go to the environment, find a way to volunteer, find a way to put yourself there. As obviously, like you said, there's probably some hoops you have to jump through a little bit, but to be okay with that, because the safety net has changed. Like COVID, the safety, the security, all that's changed, and I get that, but there's still volunteer needs, right?
Yeah.
COVID, I threw that out there and then didn't talk about it. But COVID, I feel like, changed the landscape of how we teach and what we teach. And, I mean, I don't even want to get into the whole political side, not political, but so much, but more like the curriculum side of things, and the requirements, and, I think you could speak to this more, what they've taken from teachers to be able to do.
Mhm.
They don't give them as much free rein to be able to teach creatively as much anymore because of the guidelines and the way things. Would that be a fair statement?
I would say yes. I think, like,
This is
when I
outside looking
started
in.
teaching, I had way more, like I don't know if creative freedom is the right word, but kinda.
Yeah,
And, like, when
I
I
think
left
so.
the classroom, we had more, like, scripted curriculum, which there's pros and cons to that, like
Of
and
course.
then as someone that's more in, like I am not an administrator. But, like, I work very closely with our administrators, and I'm on their, like, team or whatever, like, I see the benefit of, like, equity in curriculum, like, if I'm doing something in a classroom and you're not, like, my students are getting a learning experience that your students aren't, so, like, there is benefits to, like, curriculum and not, like, do whatever you want and see how it turns out, like, there is positives and negatives to that, but
For
it's
sure.
just
For sure.
different, and I think ultimately, like I struggle with, like people have a lot of opinions about, like, the adults, like, parents and, like, how they're parenting and where they live and what they do and blah, 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 but, like, I teach the children. Like, ultimately, like, if I teach a child, like, their parents' situation, choices, whatever, are not their fault. Like, I gotta
That's
teach the
right.
kid where they're at, and I think that's what people, like, have a hard time with, like, they have a lot of opinions about, like, whatever, but, like,
Yeah.
ultimately, like, the kids in kindergarten, like, they had nothing to do with where their parents live, what choices their parents have made, like, if their parents have a lot of money or not a lot of money, like, they're 5.
Yeah.
So, like, I think that's where, like, people don't see that though, like, they just see, like, "Oh, there's a lot of kids with, like, behavior challenges or XYZ," but, like, there's more to that story, like but
Yeah.
we don't wanna talk about that, like, we just wanna talk about how, like, there's so many different types of kids and yada, 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 like, I could
Yeah.
go on and on.
Yeah, well, and I think you make a good point on, the scripted curriculum, as you said it. There's pros and cons,
Mhm.
but to your point previous to that, and that is that every child is different and they all show up differently. And I feel like we've lost a little bit of, I mean, what do I know? I'm not in this industry, but
No, you're right,
just
though.
outsider looking in, I feel like we've just lost a little bit of that, you know, um, the ability for the teacher to be creative, to be able to teach to a student who is maybe coming in differently,
Mhm.
and be able
And
to
good
just
teachers
adjust,
do that
make those
anyway.
adjustments.
Yeah, good teachers do
That's
that
great
anyway.
to hear. I love that.
I like the last year I was in the classroom, like I remember like teaching this one particular like unit and I was like,
Yeah.
we're not doing this like this and we'll
Yeah.
do it a different way or we're going to make so like good teachers still do that. Like
For sure.
people talk about like, well, they just sit in a desk all day like no they don't. Like I have
Ugh.
kids that so my groups are 30 minutes. I have kids that stand up for the whole 30 minutes. I don't care.
Wow.
Stand up, sit down, jump. Just are you
Whatever
listening?
makes you
Yes, cool,
comfortable.
whatever. Um
Yeah.
so I think that
Yeah.
there's but that's where, like, you don't see that, like, you don't I
Yeah.
think a lot of good really good teachers aren't showy, like,
Yeah.
I wasn't like, I don't like attention like that, like, I don't want you
Yeah.
to come into my room and, "Look what I'm doing," like, I hate that,
Yeah. Yeah.
and a lot of good teachers that I know are that way, so I think that just like anything, there's more than what meets the eye, like, if you look at,
For
like,
sure.
the medical profession, like, people will, like, complain about hospitals or whatever, but, like, I've been in the hospital. I've had lovely nurses, that were, like,
Yeah.
very pivotal in very horrible times of my life, like, there's always more
Yeah.
to the story, any
For
story.
sure. What would you say, Megs, is like one challenge that you didn't expect when you started that you've had to navigate, and how do you navigate that now?
I think I would navigate it more so in intervention. So I have kids that, like, come to me or school in general with
Yeah.
no educational, like, experience prior to kindergarten. Like, they didn't go to preschool, they didn't, like, go to daycare, like, they come to school and they're, like, baseline, don't know anything yet.
Yeah.
And that's really hard because in the same class and in the same group, I have kids that, have gone to preschool and, like, have a ton of books at home and have had a lot of exposure to museums and the world and traveling and
Yeah.
that sort of thing. So, like, starting at different points is really hard, and in a classroom like kindergarten I've never taught kindergarten, and I never will, but, like, in a classroom of, like, 20
Noted.
kindergartners, you might
Yeah.
have, like, 5 to 10 that never went to preschool. So, like, that is a challenge that I feel like has changed that changed, I think, since COVID, because like, people didn't wanna send their kid to preschool because it was whatever. I'm not judging anyone's parenting. You do whatever you need to
No.
do, but, like, that
Yeah.
changes the course of, like, 'cause then a lot of those kids stay behind for a longer amount of time because of where they started. So that's a challenge that I see, like, in really
Do you
early,
think that
like,
that's
literacy.
yeah. Do you think that's still coming up, or you're in the thick of it, like you're getting the
I think it
bigger pieces
depends
of it?
on kind of, like, where your school is and, like, what your community around the school is like. Like, we definitely
Sure.
still see it, but it just kind of depends. But, like,
Yeah.
that, like, early exposure is so important. Like, I have several friends that have, like, kids going into kindergarten. I'm like, "These are things you should do." Like, they need to go places with you and, like, be in the world and, like, know how to talk to people and, like,
Yeah.
wave and take
Socialize.
turns and, like,
Yeah.
see letters on billboards and, like, "Oh, that's McDonald's, that's an M." Like, that kind of stuff is so important, and I think if
Yeah.
a kid comes to school without a lot of that, like, they're starting at a disadvantage, and that's a challenge.
Yeah. I can imagine. What's something, let me just pivot a little bit. What is something you wish people understood better about teachers and the work that you do?
I wish people understood, like, how much work it really is. Like, I think a lot of people see, like, especially younger grades, they're like, "Oh, that's so cute, like, kindergartners are so cute." Like,
Yeah.
teaching in elementary school is so much work. Like, in the
Yeah.
classroom, I taught reading, writing, math, science, social studies simultaneously every day.
Mhm. Mhm.
So, like, I planned 5 different lessons a day for multiple levels of students, like, I graded 5 types of assessments, like,
Yeah.
I mean, the biggest class I ever had was 24, but I spoke
Yeah.
to 24 sets of parents, like, 24 like, people that it's so much more work than what, like, the package presents, Like, if you come into my
100%.
classroom one day and we're doing, like, I used to do apple day in the fall, like, we made applesauce and it was so fun, like, that stuff's a lot of
Fun.
work. Like, a lot of work went into it,
Yeah.
and I think that,
Yeah.
I wish people knew, like, how much work it really is to be a teacher and that it never, like, turns off. Like, I would go home and go to bed and think about, like, a certain kid, like, did I say the right thing? Are they, like, safe tonight? Like, do they have food to eat? Like, I feel like
Yeah.
a lot of jobs you don't do that, like, you just leave and it's over and that's cool. Like, that's
You
but,
clock out
like,
and go
teaching
home.
isn't like that. Like, it, like, lives in your being, you know? Like
Yeah. I agree with that, and 100%, and I do, alongside you, wish people would recognize that. Trent and I were just talking about this. Teachers often become life mentors
mhm,
for these children without even realizing it. And we were just talking about like looking back, and I'm sure you mentioned your dad earlier, but I'm sure you have other teachers that really were impactful for you. And I know that's true for me. Like, probably my biggest mentor in my entire life was my high school music teacher, Tom Dustman. Shout out to you, TD. And we loved him. And he made so many he's why a lot of decisions I made throughout my life. And I think as parents we don't realize how much impact, or even sometimes teachers, Meg, like,
mhm,
they don't realize how impactful they are. We as parents don't realize how things we say or do can impact our children, and we make those mistakes and we learn from them and grow. But teachers as well don't realize sometimes how impactful they can be and how they are looked at and looked up to so many
mhm,
times as mentors, and the impact they can have. Like you said when we started the podcast, right? Like, just looking at that recent child
mhm,
who is reading now.
mhm.
Like, wow, that's huge, right? Is there like do you, when you look back, I know you mentioned that earlier, but do you recall, or do you look back with kids that have gone on that
Mhm.
you've taught in the last 16 years, that you realize now you've mentored them and you had an impact in some way on their
Yeah,
life?
I think, social media has actually kinda helped with that. So, like, I have a family, I taught both of their sons, both of them twice because of how I, like, changed grades, and I'm
Yeah,
still, like, Facebook friends with her, and I get to see, like, they're both in college now, like, what that looks like and what they're
so
doing.
cool.
I have a coworker whose son I taught, and we started doing, like, a senior graduation walk, and they came in their, like, cap and gown and, like, walked through the elementary school, and I saw him, and he was, like, one of my favorite kids I've ever like,
Uh,
that kind of stuff is so cool. I have a couple of kids that once they get to middle school, they can, like, email. So they'll email me like, "Hi, Miss Dale, how are you?" Like, um, "I'm in
I
8th
love
grade now,"
that.
like, that kinda stuff, like, relationships like that are important, and, like, I've taught long enough, so, like, my 1st year I taught 1st grade, so those kids are in college now, some of them out of
So cool.
college, actually,
Oh my
and I
gosh.
actually have, a teacher at our school, this is her 1st year teaching, and I was her 2nd grade teacher. So, like, it's cool to see,
Mm,
like, big full circle, moments, like
wow.
yeah.
That is awesome. I
Yeah, and I
love
got to, like,
that.
be part of her interview, and that was really cool, so, you
That
know
is
and I
amazing.
know, like, she had a lot of teachers that impacted her, and, like, I have a picture, like, it's just it's cool to see, like, those things kind of,
Yeah.
I feel like you don't really get that in, like, a lot of other jobs, and that's something that I feel like is unique to being a teacher.
I hear you on that. That is so rewarding. And how cool is that to
Mhm.
actually get to see one of your students come full
Yeah.
circle, and you're
Yeah.
you're at that point now. I you know, I'm just going to throw a little curveball at you and say, if you weren't teaching, what totally different career could you see yourself in? If you weren't teaching, what
I
would you
think I would
think?
be I would love to do, like, wedding and an event planning. I'm,
I
like, a
see that
super organized
for
person.
you.
I just don't wanna work on
Yep.
the weekends. Um, I'm super, like,
Well,
organized and, like, detail oriented, and, like,
yeah,
I had a really fun time planning my own wedding. Like, I think that would be really cool.
yeah.
Um, so that would probably I think that would be a cool job to have.
Yeah. What do you think? So this is funny. So on TikTok, I think I was telling you about this guy the other day, right? Like, he gets on TikTok. He's an elementary teacher. He just moved to Georgia, and he says, I think he should coin this or copyright it. Come in the room, come in the room,
Yes,
come in the room. And then
yes, I
he
love
tells
him.
things.
Yeah,
He is my favorite. He just cracks me up, and I'm so glad that he does that, because I feel like it's actually creating a positive light on
100%.
on
And there's a
on
lot of
ele
good
he's third grade teacher, I
Yeah,
think.
there's a lot
Yeah.
of good people in TikTok that
Yeah.
post, like, really good stuff about, like, what's happening in schools and, like, funny things and,
Positive
like
things.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
What is the funniest or most unexpected thing a student has ever said to you?
Oh,
I'm sure you got a million of them.
they say so many funny things. A lot of funny things happen when I taught really young kids about, like, my age, like, were you around when, like, something that wasn't old, like, I had a kid ask me if, like, I was around when, like, Whitney Houston was alive, and I was like, "Yes," like, she just died, like, 5 years ago, like, yes,
Yeah,
like
it's
that,
so
like, kids
funny.
don't understand, like,
Yeah,
age and that sort of thing.
the
I don't know, they say
yeah,
so many funny things. I don't know
yeah,
if I could
that's so funny.
pick one, they're hilarious.
Yeah, well, let me put you in the hot seat for a minute.
Sure,
First of all, thank you for sharing all of that. But before
yeah.
we part ways from like the subject of teaching, what what would you say to someone who's just starting out in their teaching career?
I would say find a really good mentor. I had a
Okay.
fantastic mentor my first year. She was the best first grade teacher I have ever worked with. I was not first grade was not for me. I never went back to first grade after that first year, but she was so helpful and so supportive and would just sometimes just listen. And I remember, like, I would stay late and she would be like, "You have to leave. Like, it's time to go home." Like, she was very, like, very supportive and not just, like, instruction and teaching, but, like,
Yeah.
helped me grow, like, as a person. So I would say, like, find a really good mentor, that you trust and that you can, like, "This is what happened today. What should I do?" Like, she was
Yeah.
my first, but I had many other, like, mentors along the way that, like, were very impactful. Like, that's what I would say, like, you need a really good mentor, especially in elementary school. Like,
Okay.
you know, that would be my like first advice.
Okay, listeners, there you have it. If you're thinking about teaching, go into the industry or go into the environment. I mean, the industry, of course, but the
Mhm.
environment that you're thinking about and volunteer, spend time there. And if you're already decided you're going to be a teacher, once you get there, find a mentor. Great advice, Megs. Thanks. Can we do a 60-second scoop on you personally? Put you in the hot
Sure.
seat for a minute?
Yeah,
Okay, so are you ready?
I'm ready.
Just say the first thing that comes or pops into your head,
Okay.
morning person or night owl,
Morning for sure.
as here we are in the
Yeah.
early morning. Favorite socks, fuzzy winter dress socks or athletic socks?
Fun fact, I hate socks. I
Oh,
actually hate wearing
you
socks.
you are
I
on the
do
Sock Drawer
I have
podcast.
been that way since I was a child. It's like a sensory
Yeah.
thing. Like, I don't like the way they feel. But I do love a like fuzzy winter sock when it's really cold.
Okay. So, okay, I hear you on that. What song instantly puts a smile on your face?
Mm, so many. Uh Anything like Whitney Houston, Michael Jackson usually makes me happy. A lot of, like, worship songs I've listened to have been, like there's a song, I don't know who sings it, but it's called "Left It in the River." If you've never heard it, you should totally listen to it, and that song will, like, instantly put me in, like, a good mood.
Left It in the River. I love it.
Great song.
Yeah, I feel like I've heard it. I'm gonna play it after this. What's one habit you swear by to keep yourself grounded?
A paper calendar at work. I cannot do, like, a
That is
Google digital calendar,
Megs,
like
so you.
I am a paper calendar
Yeah,
person, like, to my core, and
yeah,
also, like, writing as
I
an
love it.
act is very grounding to me. Like, I do a lot of,
Yeah,
like, Bible verse, like, journaling, and, like, I have to physically write to, it's like a mind thing for me. So I
yeah.
think, like, journaling, writing, and then, like, planning on, like, physical paper is impactful to me.
Okay, I love that. Yeah, I'm with you on that. Something you've recently let go of in your life.
Mm. I think I've let go a lot of, like I still have expectations, but I think,
Mhm,
like, expectations have had, like, a stronghold in my adult life, like, my own personal expectations, and I think I've tried to, like, let go of some of that and, like,
mhm.
live at, like, like, the plan that, like, God has for me and not, like, my own personal plan. I think I've let go of a lot of that, like,
Good
this
for
is what
you.
I want. Well, doesn't work like that.
Yeah, yeah, amen. If your teaching career were a book, what would the title be?
I think it would be called, like, something with matter, like, "It really does matter," or, like, "It's worth
Yeah.
it, it matters," something like that.
Yeah. How is it being because how is it with Matt? Like being, being what's a relationship like with marriage? Like how can you balance that?
Like, with teaching, you mean? Like, being a teacher
Teaching.
or just
Yep.
in
Yep.
so he's very, and I think he learned this very early on, like,
Yeah.
when I come home from school, like, I need, like, 30 minutes to, like, not talk. But luckily, he does too, so, like, we spend,
Yeah.
like, the first 30 minutes we're home, like, not talking, like, in separate rooms.
I love
And then
that.
because I talk all day, like, all day long,
Yeah.
to adults, to children, like, I
Yeah.
constantly am talking. So I think
Yeah.
that was something that we learned, and he just listens. Like, early on, we would struggle with, like, he would wanna give, like, solutions, like, I feel like most men do, and, like, I don't want a solution, like, I just want you to
Yeah.
listen. So, like, I
Yeah.
think we've got like, he'll say, like, "Solution, or do you just want me to listen?" And I'll say, "Just listen," and that was helpful for us to, like, recognize that, like, I don't need you to fix it, and you can't
Yeah.
anyway, but, like,
Yeah. Yeah.
um so that's been helpful, but I think so my school is year round, so I have, like, 3 weeks off after every, like, 9 to 10 weeks instead of a super long summer, and I think
Yeah.
that has really helped with my, like, mental health in being a teacher, like, I have a break in just a couple of weeks, like, okay, I know a break is coming, I get to, like, decompress, and, like, we even have, like, track out dinners, like, there's certain things that I cook over track out because they take longer, and, like, he'll say, like, "That was good, that's a track out dinner," like, it's
Love
like,
it.
we have routines that kind of go
Fit that.
around, like, when I'm at work and that.
Yeah, interesting, like, we didn't even touch on that, that's a huge thing, and that could be a whole 'nother podcast, like you said, but year-round school versus and I know there's probably all kinds of opinions on both sides of the water, but, year-round school versus, traditional,
Mhm. I
school.
love it.
I see, and I love that you love it, and
Mhm.
I love that too because it means that I get to see you guys
Mhm.
more often than,
Yeah.
waiting till summer where, okay, now we
Mhm.
can plan
Yeah.
some gatherings or some things. And
Mhm.
so, but that's as your family friend, right? And or family kind of, and not, not as a teacher, but that's also something to consider, I would think, going into that is now we have two different options
Mhm.
and what suits your personality, what suits your family life, what suits your relationships better.
Mhm.
I think that's important to know that you have those options out there
Yeah.
as well. you know Going in, maybe that helps someone make a decision to say,
Mhm.
yeah, you know what, I am going to do this. And I think what all this to say, you know teaching is not only credible but just impactful, a desired place to be.
Mhm.
If there'd be anything else you would share with us about it, what would it be for the listeners?
Um I would just say, like, it really does matter. Like, it's really, really, really hard, but, like, at the end
Yeah.
of the day, like, I know I did something that mattered. And I think, like, in my role now, I get to support teachers a lot more than I used to. And, like,
Yeah.
I know because they've told me, like, strategies I've given them have been helpful, or, like, situations with a particular kid, like, it
Yeah.
really does matter. Like, it's hard, really hard. But
Really
no
hard.
one no one likes their job every day. No one I've ever met in my 38 and a half years of life. Like, no one
Yeah.
loves their job all the time. Like, you're not gonna love it every single day, but, like, if you love it most days, like, you're doing okay.
You're doing okay. And,
Yeah.
that old saying, like, I don't know who coined it, but man, if you love what you do, you're not working.
Yes. Yes.
If you love what
Yeah.
you do every day, you're not working. So, before we close, this is kind of my favorite part of the show. Every guest on the Sock Door podcast leaves our listeners with a tiny dare. So, something simple, brave, maybe even a little uncomfortable
Mhm.
that our listeners can try this week. It's kind of our way of turning, these conversations into real action. What would a tiny dare be that you could give our listeners to do this week? Just try it.
So, I think I would challenge them to just show up for someone in a way that is hard. Like, I think being a teacher, and especially in this role, like, showing up for other teachers and other people that I work with sometimes is really hard. Sometimes I don't want to, sometimes I'm tired, sometimes, like,
Yeah.
I have, reservations, but like I think showing up for people, whether that's your friends or your family or, people you work with, like do it anyway. Like show up even when it's challenging, even when, there's no reward in it for you. Like I think showing up is a matters, like matters to
Yeah.
your friends, it matters to your family. Like I think be the person that shows up even when it's challenging.
I love that, Meg. 100%. All right, listeners. So now it's your turn, right? Take on this tiny dare this week and show up for somebody. You never know what someone's going through and how important just a tiny act of kindness or comment or a quick cup of coffee, whatever it is, a phone call, a text, show up for somebody and give them that vote of confidence, whatever they need that week. That's a great piece of advice, Meg. Thank you so much. I love
Yeah.
hearing your stories. So if, listeners, drop a comment wherever you're listening. I want to hear how it went. What happened when you showed up for somebody this week? Megan, I love you. You're my family. I'm so
Yes.
grateful to you for
Oh, me
showing
too.
up here
Yeah.
and doing this with me. I couldn't be more grateful. And I hope that you have an amazing day. Thank you for helping our
Yes.
listeners out, and I will talk to you in just a few minutes. All right, Sock Jar family, that's a wrap on today's Drawer Dump. Big thanks to our guests for sharing their story and their heart with us. Until next time. Don't forget, life's too short for mismatched socks. Retire the ones with holes, inspire the ones that still shine. See you soon.